It's Friday the 10th of March and this morning has involved a great deal of wearing rubber gloves, the less glamorous jobs of living on a small holding. So I've been cleaning out chicken coops and I decided probably not to record an hour of me shoveling poop. That probably isn't the most interesting thing to watch, but suffice to say it's been done. And the coops have had a sprinkling of diatomaceous earth to combat any red mite or to prevent any red mite that might be there, because we don't want that for the girls. Red mite's a nasty little thing. It's not red at all. It looks like a little grey fleck, tiny little thing, and they come out at night and they crawl along the underside of a perch and then crawl up, and they bite the chickens at night while the chickens are asleep, and feed on their blood, and it's really unpleasant for them. And luckily we had one house that did get red mite and none of the rest did. How that happened I don't know, because usually once you've got it, you've got it. But we've managed to blitz that house by blasting it with water from the jet spray on the hose, and I've done that 2 or 3 times, and then treated the house with diatomaceous earth to prevent it coming back and to combat any that might still be there. Actually, I think I'm probably telling you an untruth. Red mite are red, but only after they're fed. But we haven't found any that are red, so I can't really confirm that. So I'll do a little bit of research online and find out, and I'll let you know when I've done that exactly why they're called red mite. So rather than watching me shovel chicken poo today, I think I'm going to go and spend a little bit of time with the ducks, and we can watch them instead. Our ducks are very inquisitive creatures. They'll spend quite a long time just looking and watching, but at the moment the reason they're being quite so wary and cautious is because on top of their house is a visitor. So yeah, Monty's come to see what I'm doing, which means they're a bit wary. I thought I'd do a very quick tour of the small holding for, where are we, for March. So there we go, there's the annual vegetable garden seen from the end nearest to the house. There are still beds in preparation, which I think is another way of saying I still haven't weeded them yet. This bed that I was going to put parsnips into, well, I may or may not, depends on how quickly the purple sprouting broccoli is finished. Although it does look like it's starting, which is great news. So I've cleared quite a lot of the red kale out of this bed, and I need to lift and put into pots the hollyhocks that I grew there last year, and I just grew them there so they could grow on and be bigger plants before I planted them out. We've almost finished our crop of red cabbage there, and oh gosh, it's been nice, it's been lovely. And in this bed last year some little plants came up and I knew what they were. They were aquilegia. There you go. Or granny's bonnet, a lot of people call them. Actually there's lots of common names for them. and I've left them in there on purpose to grow on and get a bit bigger, and then I can transplant them into the food forest to attract pollinators, or into the flower bed, because I really like them. They're very pretty. This bed is the one that had our parsnips in it, and I think we've just got two small rows of parsnips left to lift, and I'll be sad when they're gone, because they've been absolutely splendid. But it is time to lift them again, because the tops are growing, which means the roots will be growing, and they get a bit hairy. They still taste alright, they're just a bit harder work to prepare. And in this bed, lots of perpetual spinach, that's going to be going into the food forest. And there is the last of the purple sprouting broccoli from this bed. We really have had pounds and pounds out of this bed, so I'm pleased that we're growing more for next year. This bed has mostly got weeds and leeks in it, but the leeks are lovely, they're a really good size. And again, weeds and leeks. And over here, this bed will have parsnips in it, but obviously I need to prepare the beds. But look at that enormous look at that enormous thistle. Let's move this bit out of the way. That's just a monster of a thistle. And these thistles, I know, grow to about 5'6", maybe even to 6 foot. They become huge and they become very broad, so I'll be dealing with that very quickly. This little bed's got the last of some swedes and radishes in it, and this is the one that had the lamb's lettuce in it that I had for supper the other day. So still a few swedes to come out. I sowed these ones really late in the year, really late, probably much too late. But we've had sort of single portion size roots from them. So there we go. They're now, by the time you've peeled it, there's not really a lot on it, but 2 or 3 of those certainly does us. This bed has it's got some purple kale, red kale in it, but it's also got masses of this beautiful deep dark, what a lovely colour, that's lettuce. And last year I shook the seeds from a lettuce that had gone to seed over this bed, thinking, well, maybe 1 or 2 will come up, and there are an awful lot of them. So although it's spring and they need to grow a little bit more, we're certainly going to have plenty of lettuce early in the year. And that's the bed that I prepared 2 or 3 weeks ago, waiting for the broad beans to go into it, with onions at the side. But as you can see, that's where the onions were. So certainly the ducks have managed to not only take the tops off some of them, but actually dig the whole root out of some of them. So the messy cardboard bit here, the cardboard is waiting for me to flatten it back down and to cover that with some topsoil and some composted wood chippings and homemade compost. So that will be another raised bed, and it did look all flat and beautiful about 10 days ago or a week ago, and then the winds arrived and ripped all the cardboard back up again. But hey ho, it can easily be resolved. And this bed are some globe artichokes, and I'm really excited because I love artichokes. So it'll be fantastic to have some of those later in the year. So I've got 6 plants going on here, which should be more than enough. I think that should be really more than enough just for 2 of us. There's quite a lot of grump going on in the Australorp field today, because today I have removed Dieselette, who isn't an Australorp, and she can come back in once I know which eggs belong to these girls and which ones belong to Dieselette. So I think it's going to be another 48 hours before she can come back in. And if I can't tell the difference between their eggs, then Dieselette will have to stay out, but I suspect she'll be able to come back. And at the moment she's over in the field over there, wondering why she's been shut out of this enclosure. And a quick look round the rest of this part of the small holding. So it's really nice to have the birds out again. They're fenced off into various different areas to keep different flocks together, or to keep different flocks apart. And there we go, that's the chicken palace and the run coming out of it, and there's a shed behind it which is where the chickens sleep, and then the stable is behind that barn, which is where the chickens in the mixed flock field go when it's rainy or it's cold, or actually when it's sunny and they want to stay cool. So it's a dry area for them back there. And then round here is my still in development food forest, and it will be still in development for a long time. But it's getting there bit by bit now that the plants are beginning to grow. It's looking pretty good. In fact, even some of the cherry trees that I planted are beginning to, buds are beginning to form. Well, that's rather exciting. It doesn't look like there's anything living in our pond yet, apart from a few water boatmen and pond skaters. But I have noticed it's starting to go a very murky colour. And I think it's going murky because there aren't any oxygenating plants in it yet. So I think over the next few days I will try and source some oxygenating plants, and also put in a couple of plants from one of the other areas in the garden that I know are water loving plants, and hopefully that should resolve that. If you're enjoying my vlogs, please leave a comment, like the video, and of course don't forget to subscribe.